Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of Heard It Here. I am Kaylee Mason, your host and beef advocate. Today we have a guest, and she is a classmate of mine, Mara Katz. Hello, Mara.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Of course. I came to Colby for beef production and also feed yard management. I'm a sophomore here. I'm also on the rodeo team. I compete in barrels and breakaway. I am originally from Prairie View, Kansas, which would be in between Phillipsburg and Norton, Kansas. I have grown up on a cow-calf operation. I've helped out on the farm with that, and my dad also has a custom hay grinding business, so I've assisted with that a little bit as well. I chose Colby because I had some friends that have come here and some family members as well, and they really liked it here and said it was really good, and Adelaide and the ag department I've heard really good things, so I thought it'd be a good time to come.
We're glad to have you here, Mara. This week we're discussing brands and branding methods. Part of the beef program here at Colby Community College is practicing how to take care of our own herd and being able to apply those skills that we learn into future careers. So last week, sophomores got to learn how to freeze brand our spring calves. Before you get to just start branding, though, there's a really important step that you have to remember. Mara, can you tell us about livestock brands?
So, in order to have your brand, you have to register your brand. And it might be different in different states, but I'm going to talk about the state of Kansas since that's where we're at. But you send in the brand that you want, and you also have to pay a $5 application fee. Once you have paid that fee and have received your title or your brand title, you then have to pay a $70 fee to have your brand. That is good for 4 years, and then after that, every 4 you have to pay a renewal of $70 as well, and then your brand is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. So now that we've registered our brand, we are able to actually apply the brand to our livestock. There's two ways it can be applied. There's hot iron branding and freeze branding. Hot iron is just what it sounds like. You've got iron that is obviously custom made to whatever brand you have registered. It is then heated until it's hot enough to burn through the hair and hide, just the first layer of skin though. It's only applied briefly though. Like you don't want to hold it there because you can cause a lot of damage to the hide, which can lower your profit down the line. Once you apply your hot iron brand, the brand is immediately visible and will eventually heal into a permanent hairless scar. So Mara, can you tell us about the freeze branding method?
So the way that we did it in class was we took a cooler and we lined out our irons 0 through 9, and we put them in order so that way we knew where the numbers were. We also put dried ice in there and 3 cans of denatured alcohol. And then we let them sit in there for 20 minutes to cool down the irons to keep them cold. After that, we started our branding process. So we brought the calf in, and then we shaved down the spot that we wanted to brand. For us, we shaved down their back hips. We shaved it down, and then we sprayed the location with denatured alcohol as well, and then we immediately put our coppers on the spot. We put it there for 39 seconds, and then in order to tell if it is done or not, if it feels frozen and hard to the touch, then it is done.
So whenever you're shaving down the spot, how do you measure like where to clip?
It's about a hand's width, and then you also go from the point of hip to approximately however far over that your number or whatever you're putting, your brand or your number that you're putting on there.
So it's behind the hip point.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Well, it sounds like you learned a lot from the experience here at the college. We utilize the freeze branding. We don't do hot iron branding. All of our calves were branded, but only the registered ones got the lettering. Is that right?
Yes. So we put an N in front of the number. That was to tell us that they were registered and not commercials.
And we had to triple check before applying brands, right?
Yes.
With your tag it was.
Yes.
Okay. So once the branded area is healed, they will have a clean and attractive brand number for identification. What is the benefit of branding your cattle?
The benefit of branding your cattle, depending on where and how you brand them, like for us on our operation, we just put our brand on their front shoulder. If we were to have cattle get out or something, just to know whose they belong to. Like here at the college, we put the brand and the number on their back hips. That I think is beneficial when we're sorting. I think it helps a lot to be able to see the numbers if sometimes you can't see their tag numbers because there's hair in front of it or just something like that. So I think branding is very beneficial.
Have you been involved in both hot iron branding and the freeze iron branding now?
Now that we've done it in class, I have been involved in both of them. We do hot branding at home and then freeze branding here.
What are your thoughts on them?
Hot branding, I think, is good if you're wanting, just depending on what you're doing. I think for us, it works just because we're just doing our brands, but it's also very easy to smear the brand than it would be if you were freeze branding. Freeze branding, I think, is good for, like I said, the numbers and shows up white. So, I mean, I think it's just your personal preference, honestly, but I think they're both good.
I have also now been involved in both branding methods. I had never done the freeze branding until last year. I got the opportunity to actually work with the sophomores of last year. I got to freeze brand with them and then got to do it again this year. But I have also done the hot iron branding, and that's what I was most used to. And I think that they're both good. I would probably say that I would think that the hot iron branding is better for like cowboying operations. Now, for freeze branding, I think that would be really good for like show cattle or anything that is going to be selling top dollar. So I think that our white brands will look really good in the bull sale.
And freeze branding also is a lot longer of a process than your hot branding is. That's another thing to think of.
So do you think different branding methods work better for different operations, or should all operations use the same method?
Yeah, I honestly think that different branding methods would work for different people and operations. It's just like anything else. Like your way of running your cattle herd or your farming methods might be different from your neighbors next door. Everything's going to be different in the way that you do things, but if it works for you, then it works for you, and that's all that matters.
So research shows that freeze branding is actually less stressful in cattle, but hot iron branding is the faster method like we were discussing. Do you think that either method will ever stop being used?
No, I don't really think either one will stop being used. I could see maybe freeze branding coming and being more popular than hot branding just because of the stress and the way it looks and stuff like that, but I don't ever see one not ever being used. I think both methods will continue to be used.
Which method do you think is easier to identify?
Honestly, it kind of just depends on how well you put the brand on it. A good hot brand, you can see a good ways across from your herd in the pasture. If you were driving through them, you could see a good hot brand on their shoulder. Same with freeze branding. If you have a good freeze brand on them, then it's going to look good and like you're going to be able to read the numbers.
Yeah, I would say that precision is super important because like you were saying earlier, if you've got a hot brand and you slide, it's going to be really hard to identify once it's healed. And kind of the same with the freeze branding method. Like we had to be really precise with placement and spacing, because if the animal moved and somehow we weren't able to hold the brand on the same spot, like we only have seconds to get the brand on the exact same spot.
Yeah, the nice thing about freeze branding is you have a not very much of a time, but a short amount of time that if you were to put it somewhere that, oh, that's not where I want it, then you have a slight time. You could adjust it just a tiny bit, not a lot, but more than you can a hot brand, because once you touch them, then you're stuck there. So the heat, like if you're hot branding, they're going to feel that like immediately.
Well, and the coldness from the brand during freeze branding, and like they do feel the cold, but it actually like freezes their nerves right there. So after a while, they really don't feel it. Well, you heard it here, folks. Thanks, Mara, for joining us today. You will see her again here on the show, so we will see you then. We hope your knowledge has been beefed up today. I'm Kaylee, and that's all for today's gathering on Heard It Here.